The gravel shoulder grabbed the tires like fingers. The van slid sideways, stones spraying, the world tilting just enough that my brain started screaming, "Roll over, roll over, roll over." Alan fought the wheel with both hands, shoulders locked, jaw clenched. The truck in front of us slowed like it was guiding us, not blocking us, shepherding us toward that turnout where the second truck waited. And then the turnout swallowed us. Trees crowded in. The road noise vanished. Even the sky disappeared behind branches, turning everything into a shadowy green. The second truck was parked diagonally across the turnout, positioned like a gate. Not an accident, not someone resting, waiting. Alan hit the brakes hard. The van shuddered to a stop at an angle. For half a heartbeat, there was a silence so deep I could hear the tick of our engine and my own blood rushing in my ears. Then doors opened. Boots hit gravel. The first truck rolled in behind us and stopped, boxing us in like they'd practiced it. I turned and looked through the rear window and my whole body went cold. The same men. One leaned against the hood like he was settling in to watch a show. Another walked toward the driver's side with those keys swinging from one finger. Alan whispered, barely moving his lips, "Do not open your door." My hands were numb, but I forced them down to my lap so nobody could see them shake. The man with the keys reached Alan's door and tapped the glass once. Friendly knock, like he was delivering a package. "Y'all okay?" he asked. Alan didn't answer. The man leaned closer. "You almost wrecked. Would have been a shame." He smiled like he meant it. Then, softer, "Open up." Alan's eyes flicked to me, a quick look, a whole conversation in a glance. If they get in. I thought of the billboard, the town, the chain, the way their faces looked when the engine died. This wasn't about theft. It wasn't even about anger. It was about some sort of weird control. The man knocked again a little harder. "Come on, we just want to talk." From the truck behind us, another man called, "Let's see what California's hiding." The words made my skin crawl. Alan's hands were tight on the steering wheel, but he kept his voice level. "We're leaving." The man with the keys smiled. "Not from here, you're not." He slid one key into the handle. I watched like it happened in slow motion. The key turned. The lock clicked. Alan's door popped open an inch. Air rushed in, and with it, the smell of dust and something else. Metal, oil, smoke. The man pulled the door wider. Alan didn't move. The man leaned into the opening like he owned it, eyes sweeping the van interior, cataloging. "Aw," he said, "look at you two. Thought you were gonna be brave." Alan's voice was low. "Back up." The man laughed softly. Or what? And then I saw it. Something in the man's waistband, half hidden by his shirt. Not a gun I could clearly identify, but a hard, dark shape meant to keep a conversation one-sided. Alan saw it too. I could tell by the way his throat moved when he swallowed. The other men spread out around the van, not close enough to look like a mob, close enough to make sure there was no exit. One stood by my door now, peering in with casual interest, like he was deciding if I was worth the trouble. He pointed at my necklace. "Cute." I didn't answer. He leaned closer. "You always quiet, or is it just when you're scared?" I stared straight ahead, refusing to give him anything. Alan's door creaked as the man shifted his weight, leaning further in. And then, far off through the trees, another sound threaded into the silence. A faint engine, a vehicle coming down the narrow road. All of the men froze for a second, heads turning toward the sound. The man leaning into Alan's door turned and asked, "Who's that?" And then I did something I didn't realize I was doing until it was already out of me. I took in a sharp breath and yelled, loud, cracked, desperate, "Help! Please, we need help!" The words ripped out of me like an animal sound. The man by my door snapped, "Shut up!" The man in Alan's doorway moved fast, one hand reaching inside like he was going to grab Alan by the shirt and drag him out. Everything happened at once after that. The approaching engine got louder. The men moved, not away, but into position, like they were ready to turn this into our fault. And then a car burst around the bend. Not a truck, a faded brown sedan with a light bar on top. Not modern, not shiny, older but unmistakable. A sheriff's car. It rolled into the turnout and stopped hard, kicking up gravel. The door flew open. A deputy stepped out. Tall, lean, hand on his belt, eyes scanning like he'd walked into something he already understood. "What the hell is going on here?" he barked. The men straightened instantly. The man leaning into Alan's door pulled back as if he had never been inside at all. Smiles appeared, hands went empty, postures changed, just like that, like actors hitting their marks. Dale's voice wasn't here. This wasn't Dale's town boundary anymore. But these men were wearing the same confidence, the same practiced innocence. One of them raised his hand slightly. "Evening, deputy. These folks nearly ran off the road. We were just checking that they were all right." The deputy's eyes flicked to our van, then to the two trucks, then the way we were boxed in. He didn't look impressed. He looked tired, like he'd seen this low-budget circus before. He stepped closer, gaze settling on the man with the keys. "You," he said, "back away from the vehicle." The man chuckled like it was all a friendly misunderstanding. "We're just back," the deputy repeated, sharper. The man backed up one step, still smiling. The deputy looked at Alan. "You two okay?" Alan swallowed. His voice came out hoarse. "They chained our van back in town. They chased us." The deputy's face tightened. One of the men laughed. "That's bullshit." I finally turned my head and met the deputy's eyes. My voice was steadier than I felt. "They unlocked our doors with keys," I said. "They did it like they had done it before." The deputy's gaze sharpened. He looked at the man with the keys again. "Show me your hands," he said. The man lifted them, palms out, grinning. "Hands are right here, deputy. We're good." The deputy didn't grin back. He walked around the van slowly, eyes down, scanning the ground. And then he saw it. He stopped, crouched, picked something up between his two fingers. A broken chain link. He stood and held it up. The smiles on the men's faces flickered. Not gone, but thinner. The deputy's voice dropped into something colder. "Y'all want to explain this?" The man with the keys shrugged. "Could be anything." The deputy stared at him for a long beat. Then he looked at Alan and me. "Get back on the road," he said. "Now." Alan blinked. "What?" The deputy's jaw tightened. "You heard me. You got enough gas to make the highway?" Alan nodded quickly. "Barely." "Then go. Don't stop until you hit the interstate, and don't pull over for anybody." I felt a surge of relief so sharp it almost made me dizzy, but it was tangled with something else. Fear that we were being dismissed, sent away, not protected. I whispered, "Aren't you going to—" The deputy's eyes flicked to mine, just for a second, and I saw something there that answered the question without words. "You don't understand what you drove into." He said, quieter, just for us, "I can't do more than this right now. Go." Alan didn't argue. He slammed the van into gear. As we pulled forward, the men stepped back like they were letting us pass. Not because they wanted to, but because the deputy's presence changed the rules. My eyes went to the deputy as we rolled out of the turnout. He was watching the men, not us, hand still on his belt. standing alone against 2 trucks and 3 smiles. And when we hit the road and the trees swallowed the turnout behind us, my stomach clenched with a new kind of dread. We were leaving, but he was staying. Alan drove like the devil was behind us. Maybe he was. We didn't speak for miles. When we finally hit the interstate, bright lights and real traffic and the hum of normal life, Alan pulled into a crowded truck stop without even checking for a sign. He parked under a floodlight. Only then did his hands start shaking. He put his forehead on the steering wheel and breathed like he had been underwater. I stared out at the moving people, truckers, families, teenagers laughing, like they belonged to a different planet. Alan's voice broke. They were going to... Don't, I whispered. Because if we said it out loud, it would become real in a way I couldn't deal with right then. We sat there until our hearts calmed down enough to function. And then, as if on cue, the radio crackled back to life. Static, then a song. Something upbeat with a chorus that didn't even match what we had just lived through. I looked down at my hands and realized they were sore from gripping the dash so hard. That night, in the bathroom of that truck stop, I locked myself in a stall and tried to slow my breathing. Above the toilet, carved into the metal with a key, were words that made my blood run cold all over again. Keep moving. Just those 2 words, like a message passing from place to place, like a rule older than us. I walked back out and told Alan what I'd seen. He stared at me for a long time, eyes hollow. Then he said, "It's not just one town." And that was the darkest part of all. Not that we'd been chased, not the chain, not the keys, not even the turnout. It was the realization that there were places in this country where a certain kind of person, young, broke, drifting, visible, could be treated like prey, and it would barely ripple on the surface of the world. We slept in the van that night with the truck stop lights blasting through the windows and the noise of people nearby, because dark and silence felt dangerous now. And right before I drifted off, I heard Alan whisper, like he was talking to himself, "Next time, no stickers." I didn't answer, because next time, I wasn't sure the world would let us learn a lesson without paying its price. If you're feeling unsafe, or you're being followed or threatened in any way, please reach out to someone you trust and consider contacting local authorities. In the United States, you can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And if you're in immediate danger, please call 911.